and walk up to McLeod.
Positions further back in the field, behind Moffat and Richards. Steve Harrington closely dicing with Murray Carter. Then comes Warren Cullen, Steve Masterton, Andrew Harris and Graham Lusty.
I think we've seen the edge come off the tyres on the BMW now. It's not handling as well.
Onto the main straight. Dick Johnson lapping slower cars.
Gap. Johnson to third place. McLeod 2.7. Johnson's lap time a 20.53, identical to the 100th the previous lap.
Half a second separating.
53 skating off. Chris Clearahan. That's Chris Clearahan, who leads the Australian Sports Car Championship in the ex-Peter McLeod 12A Wankel-engined Mazda.
Jim Richards looking decidedly dicey in the BMW, and there's the worried Alan Moffat team. Wet weather tyres at the ready. In a 25-lap race, a change to wet weather tyres would cost you almost a lap, maybe more.
I noticed just a little earlier they held out the big signal board to Moffat as well, and we didn't see the message side, but I can almost bet you that they've just put a big question mark and then wet tyres.
Alan Horsley there, the team manager, looking anxious, but knows the decision's in the hands of this man. 43-year-old Melbourne resident, 4 times winner of the Australian Touring Car Championship, 4 times winner at Bathurst, 3 times at Sandown, at the Castrol 400. The fastest lap in the race so far, Jim Richards, a 1:19.4. And 2.3 seconds separate the first 3 cars. The cars now on their 11th lap, having completed 10. Dick Johnson, this is 2/5 race distance, leads from Still, Harvey second, McLeod third, Moffat ready to attack McLeod.
Moffat was 1.9 seconds behind and suddenly just swooped in and closed that gap in half a lap.
So if McLeod doesn't do something positive on Harvey, Moffat will do it for him very shortly.
Yes, indeed. I think we shouldn't underestimate the drive of Peter McLeod as well. Moffat is the official Mazda man, and he's being led by a privateer, and he's doing a very, very good job.
That fastest lap I'd given you a Johnson at a 19.11. That's from the timekeepers, who say Richards so far by their timing has been fastest at 19.4.
There's the freight train. It's John Harvey, Peter McLeod right behind him, and right behind again the current Australian Touring Car Champion Alan Moffat. McLeod goes to the inside. Harvey cuts his nose off.
Well, McLeod now may be forced to take a little risk at getting past Harvey, because his nose is going to be gobbled up very soon by Moffat. So maybe in this lap he may have to take just a bit of a risk, and even if he has to force his way past down the inside.
Gap from Dick Johnson back to Alan Moffat is 3.09 seconds. That covers the first 4 cars in the Australian Touring Car title.
With Johnson for 4 laps now, lapping at 20.4 around that area.
There goes McLeod down the inside. Has Harvey left the gap? Yes, he has. Moffat now nosing into Harvey.
Now the tactic for McLeod is to really put his head down and concentrate and try to get a little gap through the S's this time, so that Harvey can't get him down the straight.
Harvey having to noticeably back off for the left-hander, Alan.
Yes, indeed. The lighter cars certainly move through that corner better. And he's got a little break. He'll get... No, he just didn't quite get that lap car behind him. But now he's got to really put it together and get through the S's with enough gap so that he can hold the superior power of the Commodore down the straight.
Down the straight last time, Dick Johnson was flashing his lights to slower cars, saying, "Look out, I'm coming through," and cannot lift off.
And Johnson just got a bad balk in the S's there, and I think McLeod's moved quite close to him. And then McLeod got the same balk on the last corner.
1.61 seconds separating first to second position, and in this dice for third place.
And McLeod has the gap. He's got enough of a gap to hold him down the straight.
2.2 separate the leading 4. Johnson, McLeod, Harvey, Moffat. And a 20.88 to Johnson as he goes out to what now becomes the slowest lap, bar one. Fastest lap as I had about a 19.1 for Johnson. Dick, official from the timekeepers, 19.0. Average speed is nearly 146 kilometres an hour.
Here's Harvey probing at McLeod up the back straight. That was close. It was only that lap car, I think. That little Gemini that blocked Harvey there a little. He was having a real run at him up the back straight. This is where its concentration is at 100% because it's getting more greasy over there. We can see spray coming off the tyres, Moffat probing away, but the slightest little slip on those greasy conditions and you may have slipped back 2 or 3 places.
Moffat looking underneath Harvey there, can't do it.
Alan, how good at driving is this from John Harvey, who had his last race at Bathurst, which of course he won with Larry Perkins and Peter Brock. His last race before that was perhaps Sandown and then Bathurst the year before. In other words, he does very little constant racing, and yet he's right on the pace.
Yes, indeed. And look at McLeod. He's slipping, Johnson.
Yes. 1.82 seconds separates first to fourth position, and McLeod now right on Dick Johnson's tail.
Dick getting a bit sideways there too.
Yes, indeed.
Alan Moffat going underneath John Harvey coming down here.
Alan, a lot of people think that because the Mazda is light and nimble, Moffat threw on Harvey.
Yes.
Harvey fourth. A lot of people imagine because the Mazda is a small car that it's a good car in the rain, but in fact with a short wheelbase and not much weight to squeegee the water away, it can be pretty difficult to drive, and particularly with the engine characteristics it's got.
Yes, that's very true, but then that little rotary engine is still quite torquey, particularly the 13B, and that's helping them in the wet.
I think he's wiping to tangle up on the windscreen, over.
The compression over the first 4 drivers has gone from 3.14 2 laps ago to 1.95. Moffat elbows his way past the Mazda 323, which really on its pace shouldn't be in the race by my measure.
No, it's dangerous out there in those conditions and shouldn't be there. I think we're seeing the best drive of Peter McLeod's career. These conditions are very difficult. I just can't say that enough. And McLeod is now harrying Dick Johnson very much. He's moving on him, and Dick's car's sliding more, enabling him to pull inside. Unfortunately, he won't have the grunt.
Will he be brave enough to try and head him as they go under the bridge?
Won't even do it. He pulls back inside the slipstream of Dick Johnson.
And look at Moffat closing up as well. This is a great motor race.
1.74 seconds over the first 4, but a lot of that is in the gap from Moffat back to Harvey. The first 3 separated by only about a second.
And how would you like to be Peter McLeod now? He's disposed of Harvey. He did it very well. He's now got one of the old pros, Moffat, right behind him. He gives nobody an inch. And he's got Dick Johnson in front of him, who owns the biggest gate in the business.
To give you an idea on speeds, they've dropped 5 seconds in lap time, which is equivalent to about 12 or 13 kilometres an hour only. Means life's still pretty exciting, Alan.
Well, even more so. I'm sorry to push the point, but these guys are all doing a great job. Those conditions are very, very difficult.
14 laps covered. They're on their 15th. They're coming up to 3/5 race distance at the end of this lap. And look at the motor race that we have. And now we've got Jim Richards on the fastest lap by a mammoth amount, 18.3, 7/10 faster than Johnson on lap 7.
McLeod instantly out of the slipstream.
Visibility must be getting difficult too if you're that close behind on these conditions, Alan.
Yes, the power of that big Henry though.
0.68 of a second only over 4 cars as they come up to 3/5 distance, complete 15 laps and start on their 16th. That's the situation, but it really doesn't tell how close and how exciting it is, and it gives us no idea of what will happen in the 10 remaining laps.
Jim Richards is 8.59 seconds behind in 5th position.
And McLeod forcing Johnson to a 19.8. His first lap in the 19s for 8 laps.
But don't anyone try and tell John Harvey that he's not in this race either. He had a good probe and a push at Moffat down the straight last time. In fact, Moffat had to slam the door as they went under the bridge. And I think John sitting back, he's pretty happy to be there.
Yeah, I think he's very content. It's a typical sort of Harvey positioning, actually.
Yes.
He doesn't like to be up front necessarily with the pressure on. He's looking after the car, and he's watching what everybody else is doing.
Yes, indeed. And the pressure's certainly on Dick at the moment. He's getting a little more untidy, but he's obviously pushing the car very hard.
I'd think John Harvey, as you say, Alan, would be looking at it and saying, this is just lovely. I'm in. Keep touch with them. and I could win a motor race.
Now watch for a Moffat charge on McLeod this time. He's going to slip. Oh, and that lap car is a difficult one, but
Gary Wilmington.
Moffat may well pull out, but he can't. He's blocked.
And 0.88 seconds only over the first 4 and a half. Gary Wilmington who's hit Moffat. And can Moffat save the situation?
He's going for the tie barrier. He's over the top. He's gone over the tie barrier, over into the ditch.
There's Alan Moffat. Out of the motor race, hit by Gary Wilmington, the man he was lapping.
That's Johnny Harvey running up
the car too. He's run out to help Moffat. Moffat groggy but standing. But John Harvey has stopped to help Moffat. Well, obviously he stopped because he's gone off the track.
He went off the road too, yes.
There's Harvey's car stuffed into a bank. This is how it happened. Wilmington, who I think you have to say, Alan Grice, did the wrong thing.
Yes, he did the wrong thing about halfway down the straight. He saw the leaders come up. He's a lapped car. He should have got the hell out of the road. The thing there, when the incident occurred, it's difficult because Moffat turned in front of him, but he made the mistake by not getting out of the road half the length of the straightaway.
And Moffat's so lucky that
that's the bank that Harvey hit to Moffat's right.